Colonel Festus Aboagye retired, in the operations of the national security, as you do know it, and the execution of this particular warrant, was anything untoward done? And we'll put the Securities and Intelligence Act 2020 Act, that's the Act 1030 on the screen. Because the last time this was amended was sometime in 2020. Mm-hmm. And Martin Pebu wants a further amendment to improve on the law in responding to the exigencies of the times. But this is what the functions of national security intelligence agencies are. Brief the president, the National Security Council, and any other relevant stakeholder on intelligence gathered internally relevant to the national security interests of the country. Next, also monitor, collect, analyze, evaluate, retain, and disseminate in an appropriate manner information and intelligence gathered internally and perform internally, that's intelligence operations, and be responsible for the counter-intelligence and so on, both internally in order to prevent and counter violent extremism and so on and so forth. Colonel.
Well, thank you very much. Let me first say hello to my learned political scientists and their learned legal counsels. I think the sense I get is that these events are being politicized. And instead of framing the events in a national security context, parties are choosing to make political capital out of them. And the clear evidence of the politicization of this particular event, as well as the former finance ministers and one Lord Kome that I don't even know about, I don't know, is a description of these events as raids. Can you imagine? Because a raid is a technical term before you come to the general usage of the term. A raid is a sudden attack. So you normally hear that an Israeli Air Force or Israeli planes or whatever planes have raided. Sudden use of force to attack a place. That's what is called a raid. So centuries ago, the Moors were raiding communities in order to capture slaves. They came on horseback without notice, without warning, surprised them, captured as many of the people that they were looking for, and then burned the villages. Now, that is not what we are seeing here. What we are seeing here, first of all, is a context of a legal framework that we call national security, which allows a certain institution to be able, based on intelligence or the acquisition of intelligence, to enter the properties of citizens, to look for specific things. So the Deputy Attorney General has told us that a court warrant was obtained. We need to assume and give him the benefit of the doubt. And therefore, the legality is settled. That once the Attorney General's outfit says that a bench warrant was obtained, then we need probably to discuss other aspects of, the event or the activity, which I think Senior Counsel Martin Pebu and my other learned friend, Edigi Tamaklo, have pronounced themselves very well on. But you see, in every society, it is not only law that is used to govern. It is law and practice, or law and tradition. What the accounts will call a manier, the way and manner in which things are done. So if you have a national security outfit, which in the ideal case must be those public servants or officers formulating policies based on intelligence acquired and so on, but then relying on the other institutions that are constitutionally part of the architecture. So in this case, I would have expected that if there were police elements, the police elements would have come from the Ghana Police Service. If they needed other protective whatever, maybe from the Ghana Armed Forces. If they were going to deal with substances, maybe Narcotics Control Board or Customs or Immigration, depending on the context of that case, national security could mobilize any other elements. But you need those officers, one of whom happens to be Richard Japa, that I don't even know, I haven't met him before. But I'm told that he's not director of operations. He's head of special operations at the national security outfit. So let's assume, and I think we're all working with assumption because the case has been made, that a lot of the conversation is based on what the honorable minority leader has come to tell us. And some of us are asking questions. Why is Dr. Addison not coming out to tell us what happened? Why has he not gone to the police to report the loss of his cash and property and so on? Why is the honorable minority leader assuming the role of a counsel to, what's his name, Dr. Addison? And then you see clearly that he's using a lot of pejorative words.
Which is what?
Which have been discussed. For instance, he says that hungry. Is that what Dr. Addison told him? That those who came there were hungry and they were looking for food. They went to his kitchen. Obviously, if Dr. Addison told him anything, I don't think Dr. Addison described them as hungry, not being paid, and looking for opportunities to steal. Why is the honorable minority leader using these pejorative words to frame, what's his name, Richard Japa in a certain way? So that's the politicization of the case. I think he should have just, in fact, I don't even understand why we went there. Look, a few years ago, a couple of years ago, I was sitting in my house when I got 2 telephone calls separately. I must go and see the director or head of now NIB. Then the other one came that the national security minister wanted to see me. Did anybody hear about this? The only rumors that Colonel Aboagye had been arrested. I was not arrested. I was invited and I went to those meetings. Look, for public interest sake, what I was told was that I had said certain things in the media. I was entitled to say them. What I said was true, but the state did not expect me, Colonel Aboagye, to say those things. I mean, is that what democracy is about?
No.
That because I'm a retired colonel, there are certain things I must not say. You see, if the NDC at the time had gotten wind of it and had come to me and had told them what happened, then they took to the air and said that Colonel Aboagye is now being hounded. You see what I mean? I kept quiet about it. And a few people that I met who asked me, I said, no, I was not arrested. Indeed, the meeting with the national security minister was at a very posh restaurant, over a 5-course meal.
Very open.
So I wouldn't go out and say that the state is hounding me. Do you get the idea? Indeed. Now, why is the honorable deputy minority leader being the spokesperson for governor? In all of this conversation, we have not even come to the objective, the object of the search. It is only over the last 48 or so hours that, which is not good practice anyway, because the Malarago one that you mentioned, the FBI came out, put the pictures there, we saw the boxes, they spread the classified documents, you know, there for all of us to see. The challenge you have is that in our part of this world and in our culture of democracy, we don't owe it as a responsibility to inform the people as to what it is that we are doing. But I am aware that national security is feeding bits and pieces of information into the media space. And what is coming out, unless it is contested, is that there was intelligence that Governor Addison And I'm speaking on what it is that I have checked. When I got the social media information, checked from a source within national security.
You've checked this with a national security source?
A certain individual within national security, that he had wired his place with what they call backdoor electronic devices.
The reason why I ask is that because we don't know.
That's why I'm saying that I'm telling you that, in fact, since then I've received multiple versions of it, including one by Kevin Taylor and so on and so forth that some of you don't want to hear about. But he had devices in his house wired to the Bank of Ghana, which enabled him to be monitoring what was, in fact, monitoring is a very diplomatic word. This is spying. This is surveillance. And the state has not authorized anybody in the form of a Bank of Ghana or a former Bank of Ghana to mount surveillance on the premises of the Bank of Ghana.
But why does he want to do that?
So that was the intelligence that the state had. And to be able, as I think he was explaining, or the Deputy Attorney General was explaining, they needed now to go to get the evidence. So the wires that we saw, the naked wires, were the wires into the device, which again, for political reasons, people have been saying that they were, what do you call, CCTV cameras. That were retrieved from the premises. So as far as I'm concerned, that was the objective of that search. But even if they were CCTV cameras, we all know that Governor Addison, and I think Senior Counsel Martin Pebo has described it, is involved in some investigations around whether it is monetary policy or financial, whatever it is, printing of money, what I think the Americans call quantitative easing, over and beyond what our laws allow a government, the 5% of the previous whatever, blah, 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 that kind of stuff.
That's correct.
So the state has the right, like the state invited me, that we have heard you say certain things in the media, but they were not able to tell me that what I said was wrong. Because some people were saying that I should be, I was causing
fear and panic.
Not even fear, a stronger word than that. So some people, even in the media space, were asking that I should be charged and prosecuted. But of course, the authorities knew that everything that I said, like I'm saying, is within my remit to say them. So we need to be very, very mindful that we don't make politics out of this. Because if national security is not able to enter houses, and there is evidence that he has adduced. Look, this gentleman, I think you mentioned his name. I stand to be corrected. Honorable Inusa. He didn't contest. I think he's checked out of politics. Yes. Look, 8 years ago, no, there was one of them 8 years ago. As a minister or deputy, he left certain surveillance devices in his office behind a portrait. Then the NPP came to power, and whoever occupied the office detected that those devices were there. What did the NPP say at the time? They said that the NDC was mounting surveillance on them. Now the gentleman came out publicly and apologized that he forgot. He should have removed them. In any case, he was not allowed, as a government official, to surveil his own office. So these are the realities. The state by law is allowed in the form of national security institutions to mount surveillance, but not as an individual. And the question I think Professor Jampo just whispered is, why would Governor Addison mount surveillance on the Bank of Ghana? What was he seeking to do? One of the reports coming out is that based on what he was seeing and hearing, he was able to place calls back to certain individuals, to direct them as to what to do or whatever it is. Is he influencing the investigations going on or what? By the time that he checked out, yes, he's got a few days, I think, up to the end of March, to
that is, if this information you are getting is anything.
No, legally, his retirement from Bank of Ghana, I think, is at the end of this March. But officially, he is no longer the governor. So he should have disconnected those devices? Why was he still having the devices operational? So there are questions for him to answer. In the interest of the stability of the state, and my humble advice would be that, yes, politicians can, pronounce themselves on some of these things, but we should not politicize them and then use those kinds of pejorative words. I was glad that you said it. The fact that 10,000 Ghana cedi, in fact, sometimes people are even saying that it's dollars or foreign currency. Now, the fact that some money and jewelry got lost at Governor Addison's, it's an allegation. You cannot then jump several hurdles and conclude that it is the national security operatives led by Mr. Jakpa or whoever who stole the money. And I am indeed, I think the English word is demented. When I hear a lawyer of the caliber of the honorable minority leader breaching the principles of, or is it the ethics? Yeah, these are ethics. That because you have lost something and I came to your house, I, Festus Aboagye, am the one who stole the item, when I have not been proven in any court of law. And indeed, the owner of the property has not even gone to any police station, to make such a case. So let's use the right words. These things happen. From Kwame Nkrumah's time as a young boy at South Central, I was aware that Kwame Nkrumah's security operatives were all over the places, especially if you were rich. I saw somebody being taken from his house, a wealthy man, without a portmanteau, a few gatherings in the scarf of his wife. And what I was told as a young boy was that from there straight to Nsamom. So every state has a right to investigate some of these circumstances. We must not use a raid, and they went for a vote, and this and that, all of which are being thrown into the mix in order to confuse Ghanaians and then make political capital out of them. Well, these are the few comments that I think I wish to. But on the procedures,
yes.
Look, even in the absence of specific such procedures for national security, this is a law enforcement activity. And law enforcement, constitutionally, is the terrain of the national police. So even if you don't have as an institution, you'll be minded to go by the prescriptions of. Which is why, in the event that the armed forces, for instance, have to conduct a search, they should not go and use the military ways of raiding in order to search a citizen's property in peacetime. They should then come down and place themselves at the level of law enforcement. In that context, you'll be going with a search team or a search party, the few individuals who are trained in how to search or what to look for. You have lookouts. So when you enter the house, you still have other people outside. You have communications to wherever you want to have the communications, to go to. And then I would expect that Governor Addison, because of his academic or whatever background, would know that he had a right to ask them, do you have that piece of paper they call a bench warrant? And I think the Attorney General has said it. Then to go a step further and say, what is there?
The details of
the details. Warrant. Is it a phone that they were supposed to go and look for? But even though if you come to my house and ask me, Festus Aboagye, do you have a phone? Yes, I have a phone. Where is it? This is it. You should ask me, do you have other phones? Well, I'm telling you, since my days at the OAU, 2000, the first phone that I used, this phone, that phone, they are all sitting in my house.
I see. Assuming he doesn't even ask, or the person who's going to be searched doesn't ask of the details of the warrant, is it also incumbent on the operative or whichever security agency personnel to show the person the details of the said warrant? It's an obligation.
It's an obligation because when the police is arresting you, first of all, they announce themselves as being whoever they are. Then they tell you why they are arresting you. They cannot just arrest you and handcuff you or wherever it is. You see? So, per the same principle, you need to tell the person, we are here, we are from national security, we are coming to search your premises, we have been authorized by this piece of paper. And you can have a look at it. Now, if, as lawyer Martin Pebu is saying, they must even have another copy that they serve on the, that is better. If they have body cams, that is better. So my final word is that, look, this democracy was not invented by our forefathers. We borrowed the culture from somewhere. We must practice our democracy the way those who brought democracy here, operate with it. And the Mar-a-Lago one is a clear example. You go on TV every day, you see events happening in the US, America, wherever. Then you see law enforcement officials together with their police counterparts, district level, county level, state level, parading themselves and briefing the media. Why is national security in Ghana, not this time, going back, not able to come out and tell Ghanaians that for this or that and that reason, we went to so and so, of course, not before, but after.
After.
We should be interested. Because as you call it in the media, this is a public interest story. You see what I mean?
So you expect that the national security should publicly engage the Ghanaian people through the media, have a press conference, for instance, on this matter, to also set the record straight or respond to these allegations that have been made against them because of the impact of public perception when this festers for long.
If they had done that, all of this conversation based only on one narrative probably might not have been necessary, or at least would have had a balanced, informed discussion. But at this moment, all that we are doing is looking at what the Honorable Minority Leader has said.
So those days of national security being silent and, whatever is gone. They should come out and
that
speak.
method that is being used, feeding information through social media, is not the best. Because each time you now need to call somebody and find out, is this thing true? And yesterday I was told, yes, what you are seeing is true. You say it. It's not the best way of managing national security. Come out publicly, call the press or the media, brief them. And then the media will disseminate the information. Then the discussions will go on NEET FM, Asempa, this and that. And then Ghanaians will be informed. And I think that is better for democratic stability.
But you see, the problem with law... No, 30 seconds.
Yes.
The problem with law enforcement officers putting details of investigations at the preliminary level is also dangerous. Because, you see, in the context of an investigation are leads. Now, if you provide somebody you are investigating that these are the things I'm looking for, and the reason or something for this is A, B, C, D, the culprit or the suspect under the circumstance, you are effectively arming the person with potential leads or person you are likely to call in the course of the investigation. And so that's also a danger inherent in disclosures. So you want to just find out how much of the information should be disclosed. And from the learned Deputy Attorney General, he simply said, look, we went, or we had a warrant, so whatever that was done was within the confines of the rule of law. We have not violated anything so far. Maybe we can do more from the perspective you've shared. Right. We can do more. But how much of information can we disclose?
I think that's a question First of all should be able to answer.
All that I'm saying is,
there's that need for that old ways of keeping quiet and allowing whatever. Well, let the public talk. This is our modus operandi. We don't respond to such issues. We should do away with it. How should the response to these allegations against the national security come, and how much information should be put out there?
It is not. I don't see any risk to the process.
Okay.
All I'm saying is that you came to my house with a bench warrant. You showed me what you were looking for. My phone, my water tank. That's what do we call them? Polythene tanks. Or polytanks.
Yes, please.
Because you had intelligence that I had staffed them as a former official of, I stabbed them with foreign currency, this and that and that. Now, that is not, it's not a classified information. It's already on the bench warrant. And I have every right after you finished to now call, assuming my father is alive, call him and tell him that the police came to my house, that blah, 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 blah. They went under my bed, they looked in my yard to look for freshly dug, whatever it is. You know, if we cannot have that conversation and want to use this African culture or Ghanaian culture of making things hush, 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 then our democracy will not be growing.
Right.
Because in that context, you have the state abusing human rights. Look, if you want to describe a raid in Ghana, the most recent example will be the Ayawaso West Wagon. That is what you call a raid.
Okay.
Yes, the state told us that they had gone there to look for arms and ammunition on the property of one Mr. Brimpon, this, that. But the way and manner in which they conducted the operation was beyond board. By the way, after the operation 2019 January, the state has not able to show Ghanaians the exhibits that we found this weapon or these types of weapons and these categories of ammunition. You see, that is what I'm saying we need to change.
Right. We're going to go for this quick break. When I'm back, we'll take Pastor Jampost's take on this particular issue. Stay with us. We'll be back shortly.